Let's talk Kyrie Irving. He's missed the last 4 games with a sore left knee. Now will reportedly be seeking a second opinion, but that doesn't mean the Celtics are done competing. Last night, Boston snapped the Thunder's 6-game win streak. This is a tough one for the Thunder. This is a 199 Celtics win. Boston has now gone 2-2 in Kyrie's recent absence, and they're still firmly in second place in the Eastern Conference. Nick, how have the Celtics been able to compete without Kyrie in the lineup?
I mean, I think you have to start with the head coach. You have to start with how hard the team plays every night. The defensive intensity that has been at a playoff level since game 1 and is sustained through game 73. And the overall depth of not elite NBA players, but NBA players who you are getting the most out of their abilities from. Terry Rozier, they drafted him. They talked him up when it came to trades. People didn't see it with Terry Rozier. People thought he was overdrafted in Boston. And then they developed him into the best version of himself. Greg Monroe, who I don't think you can play in the postseason, but they needed some guy to eat minutes and give you some low post scoring in the regular season. Anyone in the league could have had him. They bring him in. He was effective yesterday. Like, you are getting the most out of all your players. You are developing your players. And in close games, you have an edge every night because of your head coach. Every single night because of your head coach, you have a tactical edge. You saw it last night. A lot of teams go for the 2 to tie. The Celtics understand analytically, unless you have a wide-open layup, it makes more sense to go for a lower percentage 3 to remove the 50-50 proposition of overtime. They do that better than any team in the league. They are the best out-of-timeout team of any team in the league. I assign that to Brad Stevens, their brilliant head.
And that didn't start this year just because they got Kyrie there. Last year, with them having the best record in the East, you could see that Brad Stevens, he was going to be an elite coach. Now, with the lack of assets to play with, Horford not playing all-star basketball, his development of younger players, Jaylen Brown, he wasn't there last night, but his overall development as a basketball player, Tatum, as a 20-year-old, seeing him develop a jump shot, and having a very successful rookie campaign. It leads to not only the head coach, there are also basketball operation, Danny Ainge, and their ability to develop younger basketball players. Some organizations, you don't see that. You see guys go there and they don't actually get better. We see that in Boston. And anytime that you have a culture where you're going to have guys play defense in the NBA, you will have a chance to win every night because of that defensive intensity. And they have that there in Boston every night.
And keep in mind, they lost Gordon Hayward. Most of their guys, some of these guys are 20 years old that they're asking him to put big minutes in and play up against other guys the entire season. And that's a credit to what Brad Stevens has done.
Before we move on, I'm just going to put one thing out there just to keep in mind. If Kyrie does end up getting shut down, if Kyrie doesn't play in this postseason, we will then have to reevaluate the steal of the Kyrie Irving trade from the Cavs to the Celtics. Celtics are thrilled that they have Kyrie no matter what. But if Kyrie's knee is in a place to where, imagine if that trade doesn't happen. And with 9 days left in the season, Cleveland's like, Kyrie Irving might not be able to play in what is the last postseason with LeBron James. What that would mean for their ability to compete for a championship. So I hope Kyrie is able to play, but I also don't want the Celtics have the mistake with Kyrie, be the mistake with Isaiah, play through the injury, and all of a sudden it hurts his ability long term. So that's just something to monitor as well.
It's never good when you go get a second opinion because you don't like the opinion of the first guy.
Correct. Absolutely right.
Don't get me started on the third opinion.
Nope.
New topic. After a season full of controversial catches and non-catches, the NFL is in fact making changes. NFL Vice President Troy Vincent says the committee plans to change parts of the rules when it comes to going to the ground, as well as to slight movement of the ball within the receiver's hands. CC, what was your reaction to these changes? Show us what's happening.
I wasn't happy initially. I mean, I was part of the committee and have been part of what they're trying to do as far as changing the rule when it initially got changed several years ago, or adjusted the rule and adjusted the language to what we're going to see with the catch, no catch rule. And I like the fact that the NFL, they really looked at fans and their disappointment in being able to judge what is a catch and what's not a catch. Typically, when we looked at the rule, we looked at 50 plays, the 50 most controversial plays, toughest plays, and we all went around the room as, is this a catch, is this not a catch? This time, Troy, NFL, Roger, they decided to do it a different way. We know that the fans And Roger is a fan, so he's in that group. They're not happy with the current rule. So we went through the catches and we were like, well, we'd like this to be a catch. Well, we'd like to see this on a NFL Sunday.
And if they thought the fans said that should be a catch, then they said, what adjustments to the rule do we need to make that a catch? They almost did it backwards instead of forwards.
Yes, they actually did do it backwards. So what they've decided is, as you can even see with this football, I'm well in control of this football. But if I was to be going to the ground, even with the control, the ball can move if it hits the ground. So removing that part makes it a lot easier for referees to be able to judge it. It makes it easier for the people that are catching the ball. And now the other component that's very difficult, going to the ground. So we have movement of the football. That's been a huge problem. We saw that with Jesse James. We saw that with Dez Bryant. And also going to the ground. Both of them had problem with either the ball moving or surviving contact on the ground.
So now what is the part, as far as the ground is concerned, what is that part?
That part will be removed. If you have possession of the football, and you either have one body part inbounds or 2 feet, and you hit the ground, you don't have to survive the ground now. Typically, in the catch rule, regardless of what you're doing with your hands and body parts, if you go to the ground, the whole catch process, it starts all over because you're going to the ground. Okay. That part would be eliminated.
That's the key part. The starting over of the process. And that is the part that no matter how educated fans were, and I consider myself a very educated fan, it just didn't sit right with me. That Dez Bryant, I would argue with CeCe, he possessed the football. And CeCe would make the point, nope, he's not even eligible to possess it yet because he's going to the ground. And I'd say, but he possessed it. Like, it's a who's on first routine. They wanted to get rid of it. Dez Bryant in that spot, he clearly controls the football there. Under the old rule, because he's going to the ground, that control possession process cannot start until he's survived the ground. Under the new rule, that's a catch. Jesse James, under what
possession,
we believe the new rule,
when his second foot hits, he's got possession.
Same with Jesse
So whatever
James.
happens after that, it's disregarded. So you've kind of shortened the process.
And go ahead, Jenna.
No, as a guy who has sort of been fighting this a little bit, just because your standards are pretty high for where a catch is, are you satisfied with this? Does this, do you think, make fans happier, make them understand the game more? Are we going to be done with what we went through last season?
No, we're not going to be done with it because we always criticize, especially change. Change is hard for people to accept. We have to adjust our eye to what the new rules are, realizing it's better for the game, it's better for the players, and ultimately the reason why it's changed, it was better for the fans. All right? Like Roger didn't change this for the players currently playing. He changed this because of the consumers. They are consuming this product, and when you don't understand the game or an aspect of it, it's up to the league, people like Roger and Troy, to be able to get it. To me, they had a lot of people in the room who I really respect. We all had a very, very strong opinion, but we did come to an agreement that this is better for the game of football.
The one other tweak that we haven't mentioned is how replay applies to this.
Right.
And that is they are going to go back to emphasizing the call on the field. Not that replay can't apply, but that if we are going to overturn what the refs decided in real time, it's got to be obvious. What we have to, because there is, when we're talking about fans, as a fan, there is nothing more frustrating than having a play go your way, seeing it on replay, believing they got it right, it was ruled right, and then on the 9th replay in super slow-mo from the reverse angle, oh no, the ball bobbled a little bit, it's going to be taken away. Fans, I think, understand replay is a part of the game, and if a ref got a call clearly wrong, even if it went in your favor, we're not going to get that benefit. But when fans see a call go their way, it's called in real time one way, and then all of a sudden, the smallest tweak, it's overturned. So they said, hey, we're going to make the call on the field. It's really got to be incontrovertible to change.
The reason why I didn't want the rule changed is because the last 80 years in the National Football League, every 10 years we throw the ball more every decade. And we've been successful at throwing the ball. With the quarterbacks that we have throwing, it's so hard to play defense now. I didn't think it was necessary to make it easier for the wide receivers, given that it is a throwing game in the NFL. And we've thrived under the old rules. But when you have the complication of 2 or 3 plays on a Monday where our consumer does not understand what they're watching, you have to make adjustments.
Good stuff. You sleep with that football at night? You hold it.
There used to be a day, Jen. I slept in high school with a NCAA basketball and a college football.
Donovan McNabb told me that he slept with a football for a long time. So I'm just curious. Anyway.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Coming up. I had such a good line, but I'm not going to say it.
Is it time?
Is it time?
In the NBA.
Go ahead.
That's next on First Things First. Jenny getting spicy.
Your agent going to have to negotiate you out of this one. All right?
Wait.